Time of the week where we do an open office hour or a mini training or all sorts of cool things for the Pulse Academy and for Pulse community. And I am super happy to be here to do today's open office hour. You might be seeing me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube or inside the community. And if you are in any of those places and want to join in the conversation, of course, you can put any comments in any of those places, or you can join the conversation in the community itself by going to this link right here. So I'm happy to answer all your questions and talk about all the things. And this is sort of a kind of throwback to a office hour format that I used to use where I'm answering mostly your questions and talking a little bit about some of the things going on in the social media industry right now and give you a little insight tour into the very new LinkedIn Business Manager. And you can tell from the name that it might be a lot like Facebook Business Manager. And if you had that thought, you would be correct because it's pretty much the same function. And not only is it the same function, it's also just as bizarre as Facebook's Business Manager. But I'll give you a little tour inside of that and answer your questions about it. So again, if you have any questions, you can put it in wherever you're seeing this, or you can join the community and ask it there. I know that there are lots of people who are new to social media management who have lots of questions that have to do with just starting a business. And there is plenty of information and support for you inside the community. And I also know there are a lot of people who have been doing this for a very long time and they just need to know some little thing to help them gain some insight into a process that they're using right now. I want you to know that I'm super impressed with the conversations going on in the community. For example, um, there are things being asked in the community right now. I'm just gonna read a couple of them to you as you're putting in your questions because I think these are quite amazing, and you should know that these questions and conversations are going on someplace so you can tag into them. So, for example, right now I'm just going to read down the chat list of things happening in the community. Facebook events, are people still using them? What works? How about how to use Instagram photo at carousel links? There's super important things to do, learning how to do that. Will you be signing the Make Instagram petition? How many of you are up on the latest of that? This is very interesting to me, knowing that I've been on Instagram for freaking forever and I have seen all the changes and I kind of like this petition and what it's asking. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's been a lot of news lately from Instagram saying that they are leaning into video. And of course, they're going to support photos, but they're going to lean into videos. And there are a lot of people who would prefer Instagram to stay photo based instead of reels and short form video based. So there is a petition going around, and the link to that is in the community for you to go and check that out. I think I might go over and sign it, and I'm very curious to know if you'll be doing the same thing. The other bit of community conversation going in there is talking about the 5 profiles inside of Facebook. And if you'll be using that, they are testing this, and there is a reason behind it. They understand that people are different people in different groups and different pages. And so they're actually creating a function that will allow people to have different profiles, different pictures, but they're all connected to your one profile. So it's like having different avatars of your own self. That's the way they're structuring it. So I'm super curious if you'll be using that as a social media manager going forward. The other thing, and I'd love to have your comments in the chat if any of these things are interesting to you as a social media manager. But the one function that they came out with recently, and it's actually been out for a little bit, but it just got a little bit more buzz in the last couple of days, and that's the at everyone function inside of a group. Now, I don't know if you manage groups or not, but um, the recent lack of reach inside of groups has made this function very attractive to a lot of people to be able to make a post that every single person in the group would get a notification for, right? So it's not just that they're going to see it randomly, organically in their feed or whatever, but they actually get a notification. And I tested this yesterday with a small group of mine, and it not every you have to understand this. Not everybody is on Facebook 24/7 like we are, right? So I have noticed the trend of there's always this big spurt of people who see a notification, and then it trickles in as people turn on Facebook, which they might only do once or twice a week, if they're involved in a group, if they're normal people. And so I think that it's very important that if you're going to use this at everybody function inside of a group, then it's very important that whatever you're saying to them is comprehensive and clear, and maybe leads them someplace else, to a lead gen, or to an email sign up, or to an event or a webinar where they would have an email capture system set up, so that you can continue conversations more normally as you would through email. But it's an interesting function, and I'm very curious to know if any of you are actually using this function. I hope that um, that these new functions, especially inside of Facebook, because Facebook is a rather big component of many people's strategy, that you can use these things in a way that feels good. I would wait until everybody gets their yayas out with using it, and then maybe use it in your group. That's my feeling on the whole thing. All right, so I am looking for any comments. Um, Restream is a new function for me, and I would like to make sure that I can um, see the chat. And so, if someone out there who is watching could put something in the chat, that would be super cool. All right, so that's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I want to do a couple of updates and then get into the LinkedIn Business Manager process. So if you're here for that, hang with me for a minute, especially if you're here as a replay viewer. Hello, thank you for joining. We are having at Social Media Pulse a monthly table talks event and it's a super cool system. I don't know if you've tried out Airtable, but that's the architecture that's being used for this. And it's very nice and pretty intuitive and very easy to do. You sign up, you register for the event, you show up to the event. And in our case, Deb, who's doing a fantastic job with this, Deb introduces what's going on and how it's all going to work and gets everybody settled. And then she clicks a button, and then magically there are tables. And the tables can have different topics. And the different topics, you can choose which table you attend. You click the table, you're there, and you're on video. So now, let's say you have 6 people around a table. You now have a little side conversation with 6 people on that topic. And we recently did one, and it was really quite wonderful. We talked a lot about social media strategy and what that involves, and how email marketing ties into your social media strategy. It was very detailed and highly practical, things that you could do right away that came out of that table talk. So that's monthly. So you should make sure you're getting those notifications for those table talks and register for them. It's a great way to meet up with your peers and people that have been in the business for a really long time. But don't be intimidated about that. Like, these are just people who were social media managers. So they, have been around the business for a while, and that's cool. You can get all that information from them for free. And did I say that loud enough? And for free. It's like super awesome. I have a note here from Ruth, and she says, I have yet to at everyone mentioned in a Facebook group yet. It's tempting to use it as a marketer, but I've heard negative feedback on my feed from others, so I'm hesitant. That's exactly where it is right now. Of course, you have to remember that um, anytime there's something new, there's negative feedback. Always, hands down. I have yet to see a new feature that everybody's like, "Yay, exciting!" Uh, not yet. So there's always going to be some negative feedback. But depending on your group, and I have to underline that with a big, big underline, is that depending on your group, this might be a wonderful thing to use. If you have people in your group who complain that they never hear about things or they miss things or they're wondering why weren't they notified of this thing or that, this would be a great function for that group. If you have a super active group that you get a lot of views and your group reach is very high, the percentage is very high, then probably this is not a function that you need to use. I do know that I'm a manager, admin of several groups, and I have all those different types of groups. And the one that I tested this on, I said straight up, this is a test. I'm just checking it out. How you guys doing? Right? And they were really very nice. And it was nice to see everybody replying and that they have things. And this particular group is a supporter group. And on Facebook, that means they're paying money monthly to be in that group. And so that group has extra perks. So in that case, this would be a perfect function to use for them when one of those perks comes up. For example, this particular group gets access to digital books before it's sent out to everyone else, or they get access to merch before it's available to anybody else. They also get access to tickets to live events before anyone else. And so they are willing to pay money monthly to have those abilities. So sending those messages out saying, we have a new event, here's the ticket, that would be an appropriate thing to at everyone in this particular group. Now, if you run a different type of business where the group is more in a conversation or people are asking, customer service questions or things like that, that's going to be a little harder to find an instance where you really need to use the at everyone. The only other system I can think of where an at everyone would be useful is if you're closing the group, but and you want them to go someplace else, right? So if you have a group that's been functioning and you've decided you'd rather have everybody on Mighty Networks or on some other space, then at mentioning everyone in that group saying, hey team, we're moving over here. Again, that's an appropriate use of it. But to use it for every single post would be overkill, I think. But I do know I have a client who would probably use this for every single blog post every single day if he thought it would give him more website traffic. So if that's the case, if that's what your client needs, then this is something you have to work into your strategy. So anyway, thank you very much for that, Ruth. That insight, I think, is really important to understand how that works. All right, now I am going to go over here and, it's interesting. I have a mouse that just kind of wants to work when it wants to work. It just does not want to work when I want it to work. So, did anybody else have tech problems this week? All right. All right. What else do I want to talk about before I get into the LinkedIn Business Manager? We have a summer camp coming up. And for those of you in Australia, it's actually winter camp for you. And we're excited about that. We'll be having some really big announcements about that. So make sure you tune in to that. And I think we are going to move over to seeing this thing about Business Manager. Now, before I show you my screen, I do want you to know that um, it is super similar to Business Manager on Facebook. So if you understand that interface, this will be a no-brainer to you. But basically what LinkedIn has done is it's created a business manager where you can connect people, pages, partners, ads accounts, everything to do with your business on LinkedIn into one interface. Now, it's not the same as um, your ads manager inside of LinkedIn. Let me go ahead and turn this on. And I'm also going to try and jumpstart my mouse again. Okay. Oh, and Ruth will appreciate it if I go over here and change it out to this one. So we'll do that for her. So this is Business Manager, and you can see, hopefully from the URL, that it's business.linkedin.com. So that's the same as it is on Facebook, business.facebook. This is business.linkedin. And you create your business manager just like you create your business manager on Facebook. And this is where you have to think, who owns the business manager? So if you're a social media manager and you're working with clients, you know on Facebook that the appropriate thing to do is to, as a social media manager, get added to the client's business manager. And it's the same for LinkedIn. But I'll show you the inside of that in just a minute. But you can sign in if you've already created business manager, or you can create business manager. And once you sign in, you have this interface here, and you can see this is who owns the business manager. And then you have home, people, partners, ad accounts, pages, matched audiences, and invoices. And the boxes up in here make it super easy. You can invite your team to join Business Manager and define their roles. I'll show you that in a moment. You can add partners. So if a working business is working with an agency, they can add their partners so that they can share ad accounts with other businesses. So this is if you have hired someone to do ads for your business, and if you do ads for other businesses, then you would be added to their business manager. So hopefully that's super clear. You can set up ad accounts, you can set up pages, you can share audiences across different ads accounts. So that's a lot going on here. I'm just going to go down this and give you a little tour real quick. So this is the people part, and this is where you can invite people to be a part of your business manager. So you can add people in here, and you can have them have different types of roles. Someone who's an employee, someone who's going to be adminning your business, maybe a contractor who's just doing one particular thing. And then you got this needs review. So notice this one needs review. So this person was sent an invitation and they haven't responded to it yet. But this is where you can do all of this, and you can edit. There's all sorts of things here you can do. You can resend the invitation, remove them, and view details. There's lots of stuff going on in the people part. Now, if you go to partners, this is where it connects two business managers together, which allows you to share ads accounts. So ask your partner for their business manager ID to get started, right? So the point being here is that you have to know which direction it goes. And if you're adding a partner to your business manager, or if you're being added as a partner to their business manager. But that way you can share ads accounts and work on them together. And then ads accounts, you can add accounts here to business manager. If you have lots of different ads accounts, you can add them here. And then here are your pages. You can add your pages that you manage. And then your matched audiences. These are audiences in your ad accounts in Campaign Manager. Now remember, don't confuse Business Manager with Campaign Manager. Campaign Manager is its own thing, and you have your ads, the accounts, and all the ads that you're running inside of Campaign Manager. But this again is Business Manager, and then invoices, where you pay your invoices. So it's part of a business, you're paying for things. All right, so that's the little tour around Business Manager and how you would use it. So I'm going to go over and see if there are any questions in the chat about Business Manager in particular. And I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the stream real quick. And so I know that was a quick little tour, but what I want to do is talk about why you would want to have Business Manager as a social media manager. Now, as an agency, there's one reason. As a solo social media manager, there's another reason. And as a business owner, there's another reason. So it's really important to understand what column you are in so that you don't mess up the function of Business Manager. And I don't know if you remember the first time that Facebook Business Manager came out. And honestly, it was a mess because everybody did it wrong. And so you had to sort it out and get it right. And that's the important lesson here is that know who you are first before you start doing this. So in terms of my clients, I'm not personally running ads on LinkedIn for my clients, right? At least not at the moment. So Business Manager is not as important to me as a social media manager. If you are an agency and you do run ads for your clients, then you need a business manager for your agency and you need your clients to have their business managers set up so that you can connect them, like we saw in the partners section on Business Manager. So, again, LinkedIn has a tremendous amount of support with this and a lot of information and tutorials about this. It's new, but the whole point is you have to go to business.linkedin.com and go through the Business Manager tutorials. All right. So, any questions about that particular thing? I know, Ruth, you might be interested in this because I do know that, Social Media Pulse has a strong situation over on LinkedIn that might be very good for business. And so that whole system might need to be worked out with the people who run ads for Social Media Pulse so that they're doing all that correctly. So I'm super curious if you have checked into any of that yet. And if you have or haven't, let me know in the comments. I would like to know. And again, it doesn't matter if you're watching this live or as a replay. You can always put comments in here. And especially if you are, especially if you are coming to see this at a later date, this whole conversation will be here in the community. This is where it lives, and we're happy to answer questions in there. And you will meet so many interesting people inside of this community. It's such a nice thing to have a collection of peers who will support you and guide you and network with you and answer your questions and train you and all of that for free, all of it for free, just like super amazing. It's such a gift. So I hope that gets spread around a lot. All right. So, is there anything else that you would like me to talk about? Ruth, since you're here, I'm happy to talk about anything um, about being a social media manager. And I'm glad that you will be checking out the business manager. I think it's super important. And it's one of those things as a social media manager that we will at least know how it functions, even if we're not going to use it, because it might in the future, and a client might have a question about it because it might come up in what they see online and they will have questions about it. I am going to talk about a couple other things because I'm super excited about this. You know that a lot of social media managers focus their attention on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And then there are other social media managers who do a lot of work with YouTube and e-commerce. And I am super excited to hear that YouTube and Shopify are creating an integration that's just Beautiful. I'm super excited about it as an e-commerce manager for myself. I think this is going to be a really big deal. And it's sort of like a live hybrid shopping thing experience on YouTube where during a live presentation, if you mention a product in your store, it lives at the bottom of the screen and people can click on it right there. So they normally, an e-commerce person on YouTube needs to send people off of YouTube in order to purchase something, whereas this would transact right there on YouTube itself. So it's a super cool function that I hope if you are a manager of e-commerce that you look into. Yes. So definitely check into that if you're an e-commerce manager. So Ruth said, I want to hear more about your thoughts about the Make Instagram Again petition. So, like I said, um, the petition link is in the community as a conversation happening inside the community. And there are obviously, with anything, different opinions about all of it. And I think that um, the sort of like trend right now is everything tends to look the same. I don't know about you, but if I'm on, let's say, YouTube Shorts, after a while, I'm like, where am I again? Am I on YouTube Shorts or am I Instagram Reels or am I on TikTok? Because you wouldn't know. They look exactly the same, they function the same, it's the same people, it's the same thing. And so it sort of doesn't matter where you are, it's just short form video, right? Um, but the reason a social platform is unique is usually something that's very unique that it started with, right? And so YouTube is YouTube. It's long form video. That's what it is. That's the core of what it is. And I think Instagram also had that core of what it was with photographs. And I truly think that that function is what makes Instagram Instagram. And by modifying that core function of what it is, Instagram is not Instagram anymore. So I do think that Instagram needs to rein it in a little bit and be more supportive of the millions of photographers and real life people who would prefer to do photographs. Now, carousel photographs on Instagram are wonderful, and stories are a part of Instagram. And I know if you remember when stories first started on Instagram, people were like, why stories? No, right? But now that is sort of settled into being a core function of Instagram. And there are people who go on Instagram and the only thing they do are watch stories. That's all they do. They don't see the feed, they don't do the reels, they don't do anything. And there are other people who prefer the feed and they are irritated when they get thrown into the reels feed because they're like, why am I here? I was just trying to look for my friends' things. And the fact that Instagram is also now highlighting things they think you would like, instead of keeping that on the Discover tab, they're putting it into your feed is good and bad. Because if it's done well, you will find amazing accounts that you would never have found otherwise. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing for us as marketers too, because that means our clients' stuff is being shown to more people that would not have found us any other way. So if from the marketer's side, I think it's a wonderful thing. But as a consumer, I'm like, where's my friends? Like I don't know these people, right? So again, it really truly depends on why you are invested in Instagram and why you're using it. But in my personal experience, I like stories where they are. I like the feed to be images, and I like the Reels tab to be Reels. I sort of like it organized that way. But the mixing of it is And I don't know if that's just because I like to have my pillows, organized and my my decorations placed properly. I don't know if that's it, but I do know that it's a complicated situation, but I would prefer Instagram to stay with its core values, in my opinion. Um, Thank you. I hope you 100% agree with whatever it was I was saying at the time you posted that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. And if it's the fact that Instagram should stay Instagram, that's great. So here's the actual link. And I know that's a long link on this banner, but if you are on Facebook, because that's where Ruth is right now, if you're on Facebook, that link will be hyperlinked and you'll be able to go right to it. And that's where they are talking about this particular petition. Yes, it's a good conversation. I think it's a very good conversation. Um, all right. I think there are some other things, and Ruth, I don't know if you would like me. Ruth, by the way, in case you're wondering who Ruth is the head of community education inside of Social Pulse Academy. She is heading that whole process inside the academy. If you are wondering where Social Media Manager School went, it has evolved into the academy and it is being developed and expanded inside the academy. It's really super cool. And Ruth is doing things in there that I've always dreamed about, and I'm so excited for it to come to fruition. One of the things that is super cool is that she's working on this ability to, after you take one of the courses inside the academy, to have a certification badge that you can use and will be connected to LinkedIn. And this would be so helpful to people when they are looking for jobs. So, as a new social media manager, to be able to go into the academy, take a course on LinkedIn, and then get a LinkedIn certification badge to put on LinkedIn would be very handy, I think. And I think it would be great for gaining business once they know that you have taken a course in how to use it for a client. See, there are lots of courses on how to use LinkedIn, but there are very few courses that teach a social media manager how to use LinkedIn. And I think that's the defining difference between other courses and the courses inside the academy. And Ruth has developed this amazing board of academics from all over the world who understand social media marketing and marketing online. And they inform her of structure and format and some of the best tools you can use in tutorials and training. So super good. I'm super excited about it. And thank you, Ruth, for being there. That's really amazing, the work that you're doing. All right, so let's see if there are any other questions. Um, and I'm happy to answer your questions about anything. Do you have anything that you have that you'd like to ask me while I'm here to tackle those questions? I'm happy to do it. Now, we've already talked about some of these bigger changes on Facebook and Instagram and on LinkedIn and on YouTube. I can't tell you how excited I am about this YouTube thing. I will probably be posting a lot about this inside the community because if you've noticed, there is a trend for this sort of live TV shopping experience inside the social media sites. For example, you have live shopping or live TV on Amazon. You have live shopping video on Pinterest. You have live shopping now on YouTube. You have live shopping on Facebook. It's been around forever. I don't know if you guys ever go into Facebook Marketplace, but inside of Facebook Marketplace, there's a whole live section where people are, hey, come look at my mug I'm selling or whatever. There, it's a whole live shopping experience, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people tuning into these every day. So again, if you have a client that has stuff, that has merch, or that has any type of physical product, this is where you need to be, is leaning into these live shopping experiences, especially if they're going to get as integrated as YouTube and Shopify is. That's like amazing. So if you have those clients, these are the things you need to lean into. If you don't have those types of clients, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be on YouTube or LinkedIn or Pinterest or Facebook. It really depends on where your audience is, right? So that's just a basic business fundamental on what site to be on, depending on your audience and the business. And thank you, Ruth. I really appreciate that. It's great to tell everybody about how cool you are. All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to close this up. But I do want everyone to remember that if you are um, looking for conversations in the community, the place to be is socialmediapulse.community. Come over and say hi. Everything there is free. It's great to reach out and ask your questions there with uh, a tremendous amount of expertise and knowledge in online marketing. And I think it's a great place for you to go. And then if you're looking for this particular show inside the community, this is where you'll find it. Office hour, July 28th. And that conversation is there. And I will be over in the community answering questions in that stream. Happy to help out there. And I think that's it, unless anybody has any last questions that they would like to add to this. If you have any questions about LinkedIn Business Manager, ask it over in the community and I will help you sort through it. All right, that's it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day and that you join us over in the community. Bye.